Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. First of all, we want to start this video out by just thanking everybody that reached out to us after our intro video and just wished us well and sent us some support and some love and thanked us for doing this. This is a real intimate topic, like Lindsay kind of pointed out in our intro video. It's kind of leaves us kind of vulnerable, and it's kind of an awkward conversation to have, really. We felt like it's important for us and enough to kind of get this information out there and hopefully help other people. So,
one thing that I was thinking about, we probably won't spare any details. So if you get embarrassed easily about body parts or body fluids or we can't talk about fertility stuff without talking about those things, so we're just gonna say things as they are, and that's just your warning.
It is what it is. It's a little bit of a biology lesson here,
right?
So,
not necessarily this video, just moving forward.
So it'll be awkward anyway. So
right.
So anyway, kind of like what we alluded to in the first video, we have chapters. So this video will be chapter 1, just kind of talking about the lead up to, admitting to ourselves that we were infertile or we were having difficulty with fertility, and starting to kind of seek some treatment or diagnose the issue. Mm-hmm. So with that, you want to go ahead and kind of start?
Yeah, so like we kind of said in the previous video, I got off birth control the year prior to us actually actively trying, and just kind of reset my body and get all of those hormones out of my system.
And really, you were only on birth control for about a year? I
wasn't on birth control very long.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Because I was never on it when I was younger. Despite my painful cycles, I never took it. And so before we got married was the first time I'd ever been on it. So I got on it, I guess, a few months prior to us getting married, and then was on it for about a year, I guess, during our first year of marriage. So I guess we kind of obviously thought that it would go faster than it did as far as getting pregnant. And the year mark rolled around, and nothing had happened at that point. And so, of course, like my yearly appointment with my OBGYN, I said, hey, something's going on. We've been trying actively for a year. I've been off birth control for 2 years now. And so I'm just kind of concerned that there might be some reason behind why we haven't even gotten a positive pregnancy test, or I haven't missed my cycle yet. So
and we had some suspicions, right? So, like Lindsay alluded to earlier, she has had painful cycles, and when we say painful cycles, it's not like, oh, that hurts. This is like debilitating pain. Yeah. She's calling in sick to work. When she starts, she's kind of praying that she starts on the weekends, or
in the evenings.
Yeah, or in the evenings,
Yeah.
So that she doesn't miss work the next day and have to use her PTO. That's the type of pain we're talking about. I had a sister growing up, and I never really knew what's going on in her world, even. Right. So being just a dumb guy, thinking,
even me being a woman, I still had no idea that was not normal, because I have 2 sisters, and even having sisters, you don't really talk about these kind of things with people. It's not an open dialogue that people have. It's kind of an intimate thing. People don't really discuss, like, oh, this past period I had horrible, painful, debilitating periods. I was in the fetal position all day. I had to take a hot bath to get any kind of relief. No over-the-counter medication helped me. Like, people just don't talk about these things. And so you know, when you get your cycle, society tells you like, oh, well, women have painful periods. They, you know, cramps these things are normal. And so without comparing your experience with someone else's experience, you have no idea. You know, you have, I guess, that data point, like Jacob likes to say, you don't have that data point of like, is this normal? Like since I was a teenager, I just thought that this is just normal. Like this is just, you know, for some reason, the first or second day of my period is just excruciating, and I just have to get past it, and then it'll be fine. And
so FYI, for anybody dealing with that, it's not normal.
It's not normal. Yeah.
So we had our suspicions about some things that were, you know, causing the infertility. The painful periods being one, and then your sister with her PCOS.
Right. So my older sister, and she's actually given me permission to share this, but she, funny enough, she has very odd cycles. So she'll go a few months without having a period. Even prior to her having children, she would go 2-3 months with no cycle at all. And her husband were trying prior to us trying to start a family, and she was having a hard time tracking her ovulation because she wasn't having a period. So it's really hard to be like, okay, well, this is, you know, with the calendars and apps that people have, you can usually look at it and say, okay, well, this is the week I should be ovulating. And so she was having a hard time doing that because, you know, without the period, you're just kind of in the dark as far as planning that. So she actually went into her OBGYN and had a transvaginal ultrasound done, which a transvaginal ultrasound is, they use a probe and they insert it into the vagina, and it emits sound waves, and it can actually show imaging on the screen and show you, you know, the uterine lining thickness, your follicles, how many follicles you have, the size they are. They can like measure it on the screen and stuff like that. So they actually used the probe to kind of check things out and see what could be going on. And they mentioned to her, you know, that she had PCOS. And so PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome. But funny enough, they also told her she was pregnant. So she kind of got that diagnosis, but, you know, thankfully had, you know, the blessing of finding out that she was pregnant. She has 3 beautiful little girls, 3 awesome little nieces, which we also have another niece and nephew. So we're very blessed in that sense. But anyways, so I was concerned because it can be genetic. And if you have a mother or a sister, I almost said sibling, it would be a sister, that have this disorder, that there's a good chance that you have it as well. And so I was like, well, it's been over a year. Could this possibly be it? So my OBGYN also did a transvaginal ultrasound on me. I'm getting tongue twisted here. Sorry. And she said, no, you don't have PCOS. So I was like, okay, well, we're kind of at an impasse here, because at that point, she said, well, I'm going to just go ahead and refer you to a specialist, to a reproductive endocrinologist. And we were like, okay.
Well, she did find one thing, right? Retroverted uterus.
Oh, yes. Thank you. So she did mention that I had a tilted uterus, which is a retroverted, which means that it leaned back towards my colon. And in the past, there has been cause for concern for infertility for that. But I guess as studies have progressed, they say, no, that isn't something that can actually cause infertility. So she told me that it wasn't a cause for concern, but I was just like, well, that's interesting. Like, retroverted uterus.
Yeah. It was a question of why that kind of wasn't answered, like, why is your uterus
and so
retroverted?
I guess we didn't really pose that question, and that's why asking questions, I guess as our journey has continued, we're like, all right, before we meet with the doctor, let's write down all these questions. We have this question, this question, this question, this question. We want to make sure anything that could be a possibility, let's ask them, because they may not know, but at least we've asked the question and we're thinking about it. Because before we were just like, okay, I have a retroverted uterus. Well, okay.
Yeah, the doctor said it was no big deal.
The doctor said it was no big deal.
You know, and that's kind of where doing some of your research is, some of your own research is, you know, important. And not just, you know, going on WebMD and Googling things that, is helpful, but at the same time, you should probably, go and look at some scholarly studies and, some, double blinds or whatever, and really kind of get into the weeds of, how they did the study and why they got the results that they got and what exactly those results are. But it takes some critical thinking to really get into that, and I know it's real easy to just kind of...
It's a lot of reading too, I will say. A lot of the online studies, they are very lengthy, and they've got the intro and the conclusion and how many people they studied it on and how they all reacted to it, and so it's very scientific. And so if you're not a reader of that kind of stuff, it can be like, I just want to know the answer. Why do we have to talk about all this stuff? Yeah. But it is very interesting, and it shows that they did take the time to do the research, and it gives you some valuable data as well.
Yeah, right. And the whole point is to really learn for yourself, and especially if you're going through this, to learn for yourself and really try to get involved in how that specific study was conducted, and kind of do some critical thinking about even what may have been wrong with that study or why that study may or may not apply to you. Is a good exercise, but still you should kind of frame it with a question to whoever your provider is. And we've done that a couple of times and said, hey, we found this specific study, what are your thoughts on it?
Right.
And so that's kind of an important link. Even if you don't understand everything, send your health provider that study and say, hey, can you give me, your thoughts on this? Because they are trained and they have gone through, doing those studies through their school and through their practice or whatever, to get to the position that they're in now to be able to provide you with some medical service. So
and medicine is constantly changing. They do continuing education, and so there's so many new studies coming out. There's constantly new research on things, and so if you don't ask questions, it could make your practitioner be like, oh, well, it may make them look into it, and it could help other people. And so I think it's good to ask those questions for sure.
Yeah. So I guess that's just the point we're making in all this, is that if you're dealing with an infertility issue and you find some studies that may be specific to you, bring them up to your provider, and they should be able to help you. In the instance of Lindsay's first OB, we kind of already talked about the things that she did, but she really didn't go into depth very much. Lindsay, she helped Lindsay, or I guess saw Lindsay for the first 3 or 4 years of our marriage.
Right, when we moved to Pensacola.
And she was a great OB, right? I mean.
Right. So I am all about reviews and what other people have to say about things, and other people's opinion. And so I had looked her up previously when we moved to the area, because I wanted to find a good OB that would respect my thoughts on natural childbirth and just things people had good things to say about them. And she had excellent reviews. Of course, none of at the time we weren't thinking about infertility stuff, so I didn't think to read anything about how do they handle infertility situations. And in this case, she was well established. She had a lot of patients, and so diving into things beyond just general women's health care of all right, well, we're just going to check you out, you don't have any issues, or you have a healthy pregnancy, everything's good. I mean, us bringing infertility issues to her, that was kind of outside of perhaps her realm that she felt comfortable in.
We're not really sure, I guess, what the issue was there. Maybe we just weren't an easy case where, she was trying to get pregnant and then she got pregnant, and then, the OB really kind of took on her care from there. We were having some infertility issues, and she just, didn't even dive into it at all. And maybe, she tried that before in her practice, and she knew she was out of her, expertise, or I don't know. But her first OB just didn't go through. She didn't go through the diagnostic process, like at all, other than the transvaginal ultrasound that Lindsay was talking about, where we found.
Which was something I kind of brought up to her myself, because
Right.
that's what my sister did to find out that she had PCOS.
Right. So there was no blood work really involved. She didn't, recommend that I get checked out. She didn't really do anything. She just kind of recommended that we go see a reproductive endocrinologist. And we just, I guess, didn't have a great feeling about that. One of the things, I guess, about us is that we like to take our health in a little bit of a holistic approach. Of course, there's a place for medicine and for really learning and understanding and treating issues. But at the same time, we're not people that will just take medicine on the smallest thing. We try to let our bodies kind of do its thing and fight an infection or fight a headache or whatever, instead of just like anytime a little bit of discomfort comes on, we're taking some sort of Tylenol or whatever.
Well, and things with like headaches, we're like, okay, well, we could be dehydrated. Let me try to eat. Let me try to drink some fluids.
Or take a nap.
Let me try to take a nap. Generally, there are ways to solve these issues. I mean, medicine is a quick fix. So sometimes if we're in a situation where we don't have time for a nap.
Or the discomfort gets to the point where it's like, hey, I'm not going to be missing work for a sinus infection. Let me take some NyQuil or whatever the case may be.
Right.
But at first we try to just kind of naturally take care of what we need to take care of. But I guess through that lens, we were kind of looking at this infertility issue the same way, and she just recommended us to an REI, and we know that even with health insurance, when you talk about infertility and specific treatments for infertility and doctor visits for infertility, those are billed for infertility, and that there's not real good health options that the insurance is willing to pay for infertility. It's kind of a unique issue to a couple.
It's not deemed like a necessity.
Right.
I think is probably how health insurance looks at it.
Right. I mean, and really only 20%, 30% of couples deal with infertility.
1 in 8.
1 in 8. Oh, okay. So it's even less than that. Like 12%. So it's kind of a niche issue, if you will. And so, insurance doesn't really cover it as that, but Lindsay had debilitating pain and some other things related to, that we thought anyway, were related to our infertility. And so, going to an REI seemed like it really didn't make sense. And so we decided to go to an integrative doctor to kind of get some more diagnosis done. But even before that, we knew on our own that there's a few diagnostic things that you can go through. One is kind of the blood work, checking hormones.
The most basic thing that you can do.
Yeah,
is blood work.
Right. The other thing is checking ovulation and the ovulation cycle, making sure that that's all good. And then third is the anatomy, making sure everything like the tubes are flowing and everything is physically or mechanically working as it should. And then number 4 is the semen analysis or the guy's side of things. And really maybe that should be number 1 or 2 because the male factor infertility is like 40 or 50% of all infertility cases is an issue with the male. I went and talked to my general practitioner and told him that we hadn't gotten pregnant in over a year. And, the first thing that he did is just recommended me to a urologist. And so I went to the urologist. He had a semen analysis ordered through a reproductive endocrinologist in the area. And everything came out fine. The tests were all good. And so that kind of ruled out that one part of 4. And we needed to kind of get some blood work and other things done. So that's why we went to the integrative doctor. We decided that, hey, this person, we know he'll run tests, and he may even order some, other procedures and things to kind of do some diagnostic and kind of help us with that. So, it's not, again, that our OB was just, the first OB was just, a terrible person or anything like that. We don't want to kind of convey that message to anybody.
Right.
But at the same time, we also feel like she just didn't do or didn't care to do very much in the way of diagnosing, our situation. I guess with that, it kind of concludes chapter 1.
Right. So the next video will be us talking about the integrative doctor, what exactly integrative medicine is, why, I guess more in depth of why we went that route, the tests that we did, some of the lifestyle changes that we made. So I guess that's the next bit, but.
Thank you guys for tuning in yet again. Again, we appreciate all the support that we've gotten. It makes us feel good that people are actually kind of tuning into these these videos. Anyway, hope to see you guys next time. We'll do chapter 2 with our integrative doctor. So.
And don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, don't forget to comment below. We'd love to have conversations with people, but
we're always here for questions.
Yeah, hopefully this is helpful, and
it's at least a data point.
Right. Hopefully we didn't put you to sleep. So.
Bye guys. Y'all
Bye.
Take care.
See you later.